The High Plains, home to some of the hardiest people in the United States. Our landscape is still reminiscent of the days when settlers would come to work the land and transform it for the future.
Year after year, we face new dangers to our lives, our crops, and our property, and we struggle through them all.
When those threats come from the sky and disaster strikes, we know how to work together to survive.
Folks, and welcome to Threatening Sky. The Forewarned Severe Storm team strives to bring you the best coverage of High Plains weather around. And in order to fulfill that promise better, we work to make sure you know what to do when thunderstorms come your way. In addition to preparing you for this spring's weather events, we'll also take a look back at the most notable moments of 2012. We'll start with April of last year and a major hailstorm that stopped cars along the Potter-Moore County line.
On the 11th, the area was in alert mode for tornadoes and hail as a cold front came in. One storm along the front showed signs of rotation but never produced a tornado. What it did produce was heavy rain and a massive amount of hail in a small area along Highway 287. The storm moved slow enough to pile drifts of ice and rainwater up to 4 feet high along the road. In the ditches, it was up to 6 feet. At first, drivers had rapidly decreasing visibility to deal with because the hail cooled the warmer air above it. This process created some thick fog. Then the hail and flooding waters covered the road, bringing traffic to a complete stop. The precipitation created a very large roadblock. Meteorologist Nick Lilia and Chris Martin followed the storm until the hail halted their trip and they had to turn around. The highway was closed for about 12 hours and crews were working all night to clear the mess. All told, it took TxDOT 8 snowplows and 5 front-end loaders to move the hail. The ditches had to be cleared to let the water run off. This event made national news and many people couldn't believe it happened, even with the pictures that had circulated around. Reporter Jordan Lucero got a first-hand look at the storm's aftermath.
I have to watch my footing here. I'm standing on about 4 feet pile high of hail, remnants of yesterday's storm. Now you could imagine all of this having to be swept off the roadways yesterday.
We didn't know if the road was still there. There was reports that it wasn't, and we had mobilized to prepare to repair a road. When we finally got the hail off the road, though, the road was still in good shape.
A similar hailstorm hit Dalhart back in 1994 that kept roads blocked for nearly a month.
Let's move on to even more dangerous weather. In 2011, our area experienced only 4 tornadoes, well below our average for any given year. Then in 2012, we only had 9. Most of the time, we didn't have enough moisture to support tornadic thunderstorms. Our peak severe weather season came and passed with only 3 touchdowns.
The first of which became the earliest tornado recorded in the Texas Panhandle in 62 years. Around 1 a.m. on February the 3rd, a storm southwest of Miami produced a tornado that damaged a house barn and a few pivot irrigation systems. It also brought down a couple of power lines. The tornado caused damage in a 13-mile path. The National Weather Service estimated the wind speed was about 100 miles per hour and rated the tornado as an EF1. Thankfully, there were no injuries from this rural storm, and a few places like Higgins, Allison, and Canadian received some much-needed rainfall. The next tornado at least hit during the daylight hours and during the normal tornado season between April and June. The tornado occurred about 7 miles south of Wellington that evening. No damage was reported as it hit in the middle of a field. It was rated an EF0, but the bigger story became the golf ball and tennis ball size hail that hit several communities, including Clarendon and Headley. Leela Lake received the largest hailstone reported that measured 3 inches in diameter. Several of the storm chasers in this event had major dents to their vehicles and broken windshields. The last of 2012's tornadoes happened in December, which is even more rare than February. In fact, the Texas Panhandle had not seen December tornadoes since before 1950. Even though it was nearly winter, this was more of a spring storm system. The afternoon started with thunderstorms with severe wind gusts. One man died in a semi-truck rollover because of the winds. 2 others were killed in a severe thunderstorm-related plane crash. Another wind gust bent a Canyon radio tower in half. 3 tornadoes touched down near Washburn, Clarendon, and Lelia Lake. A fence was lifted up and an irrigation pipe spiraled into the air by these storms. All 3 tornadoes were rated EF0. Other tornadoes to hit the area last year included one rain-wrapped tornado near Adrian on May 21st, one outside of Paducah on May the 30th, and 2 tornadoes on October 12th in Hale County. All 4 of these received EF0 ratings because they either didn't cause damage or it was minimal.
The tornadoes last year could have been much worse, but one of the most interesting weather stories was the tornado lookalikes that many people saw on a Friday night.
On September 28th, still very early in the season, we got a break from summer's dry weather as the remnants of Hurricane Marian moved our way. It had come up from the Pacific, traveled over Mexico, and started drenching Texas. There was rotation in the atmosphere and plenty of moisture. The combination of the two led to a few funnels dropping from the sky. None of them touched the ground, but they could be seen from several area football games. These kind of funnel clouds rarely touch the ground, and if they do, the damage can be like that of a very weak tornado. Tornadoes need much warmer conditions, more instability, and significant wind shear. Tropical funnels are much more rare and just don't have the strength to cause destruction. The differences are also visible. Tornadoes will be connected to a wall cloud which protrudes from the base of a storm. That storm will also have some structure to it, whereas the tropical tornadoes have no wall cloud and seem to come from clouds that are not well defined.
Though we were very lucky and had no tornado fatalities last year, that was not the case for some folks just a state over. One very strong tornado started in our area on April the 14th. It became deadly for the residents of Woodward, Oklahoma. Before that late night storm, several tornadoes had hit in the area around northwest Oklahoma.
The Woodward tornado touched down before midnight in Ellis County, then moved across the county line. It went through Woodward after being on the ground for about 15 minutes. A little after midnight on the 15th, the tornado arrived in the city. Several homes were damaged in the path in addition to trees and power poles. A number of businesses received major damage from the storm. There were 29 injuries and 6 people died. All of the fatalities were in mobile homes. The area had been under a tornado watch since about 11 that morning. The storm was rated EF3 with estimated wind speeds of 136 and 165 miles per hour.
Next, we'll discuss the El Niño that never was, show you how to recognize parts of a thunderstorm, and detail tornado safety. More of Threatening Sky in a moment.